Hello, thanks for clicking. I'm Mark Morse. Today I want to tell you a story. Yesterday I won a contest, the beer and vinyl contest, and won a $50 gift certificate for Plaid Room Records. I was pretty excited about that. Um, I felt like that was a turning point for me. I thought, you know what? My luck's starting to turn for the good. Today, something happened that makes me believe that, yes, my ship is finally coming in. You probably have a good idea what I'm talking about just from the thumbnail, but let me tell you the story. It's not a record store, it's an antique shop, and they just happen to have records there. Somebody obviously takes care and gets good records. They're not like the fare you'd come across at Goodwill or Salvation Army, something like that. Somebody obviously has picked these albums out to sell. And when I get paid on payday or the day after payday, I always like to go there with about $40 and see what I can pick up. So today was no different. And I did pick up some albums. I got, this was $5, The Romantics, What I Like About You on there. This is one I've been meaning to get, the Jackson Browne, Running on Empty. I'm not going to pull the records out because these aren't the records I want to talk about, but I do want to show you a couple things I did pick up along the way. The Knack, My Sharona, $10 for this. And then a couple odds and ends that I picked up on eBay just to kind of fill out some more of my Beatles collection. I got this. It's the compilation Real Music. I think that's what the official title is. Yeah, Real Music. Music from their movies. Not a greatly sought after album, but I wanted it to kind of help fill out my compilation collection of records. And then I picked up this soundtrack to Help. I have the Help album, but I didn't have the soundtrack. It's kind of cool. Inner sleeve there. And the nice capital rainbow thing there. So these are albums that I picked up today or showed up in the mail. But I was at this antique shop, and the story of this antique shop, I didn't know they sold records, and several months ago, I'd written a couple books, and I had an art show locally, and a reporter from the local paper wanted to interview me about my books and the art. And she met me in this coffee shop, and as I always do, somehow I brought the Beatles into the conversation, and she said, you know, they have a Beatles album downstairs that sells for over $1,000. Well, that's when she told me there was an antique store downstairs, and I said, oh, it must be the Butcher cover, because that's the only one I could think of that would sell that much. I went down to look, but it was closed. But I did go back later, and I asked about it, and sure enough, they had a second state Butcher album, and we'll talk about that more. I asked how much it was, and they said $1,200. Well, I knew I wasn't going to be able to afford a $1,200 record. Anyway, so then I started making it a habit to go down there on payday just to blow $50 bucks. Every time I went, I would ask, "Hey, is that Beatles record still here?" Because I didn't really want to talk about it too much because I like knowing that it was in grasp if I ever wanted to, if I ever hit the lottery or something, that I could go get it. Um, and they'd always say, "Yeah, it's here." And I said, "How much is that again?" And one time they said $1,000. So it'd gone down from 1,200 to 1,000. And I'll be honest with you, I did think about it. My niece was with me one day when I was having a weak moment, and I picked her up. She said, "Where are we going?" I said, "We're going to that antique shop, and I'm going to buy $1,000 record." That's how crazy I get. And luckily, she was the voice of reason, and she talked me out of that. So I didn't get it. But every time I went in there, I would say, "Do you still have that Beatles record?" And they would tell me, and usually it was $1,000. Well, I went in there today and I bought those records I showed you, and just as usual, I paid for my records. I'm getting ready to go, and I said, "Is that Beatle record still here?" They kept it behind the counter. They didn't keep it out there where people could grab it, and it was a different guy. I think it was the owner of the shop. And he said, "Yeah, it's still here." And then he told me, "I will sell it to you for this amount." Well, it was a lot cheaper than anybody else had told me. It was still more than my rule of not paying more than $100 for a record, but it was still a lot cheaper than anybody else had told me at the store, and cheaper than I've seen it anywhere online. And I broke down and I got it. So I don't really want to come out and tell you how much I paid for it, but if you send me a message or something, I'll tell you. I just don't want to. I don't want to tell you on here. But even though it was pricey, I'm super excited about this. Now you're probably looking at this and saying, "That's just the regular 1966 Yesterday and Today record." Well, not quite. And I'm sure that the Beatle fanatics out there know exactly what to look for, and I'm going to show it to everybody now. But this is what they call a second state butcher cover. And what this is, look where I'm pointing there. What this is a cover that has not been peeled. But you can see Ringo's black shirt. It's like shaped in a V there because he has on a laboratory coat. That tells you that underneath this cover is the butcher cover. And I hope you could see that. I wasn't looking myself, but you have to look close. This is actually fairly good because you can kind of see the shape of Ringo's head and stuff in there too. But so you have the first state. Just a real quick history. I don't want to bore people that have heard this story a zillion times. But what happened was that butcher cover, which I'll put on the screen somewhere, that butcher cover was taken by a man named Robert Whitaker. He had done a whole series of photographs for a record. He had this whole concept of making the Beatles more human. He didn't like how they were idolized, and he was really disturbed about Beatlemania and stuff. And so he'd taken this whole series of photos that were going to be part of the record design. Well, the butcher cover with the Beatles sitting there covered in meat, dolls' heads and stuff, that was just one part of it. And it was actually going to be a small part. I think he said it was originally planned to be just like a 2.5 inch thing on the back of the record. But the Beatles liked it. And that's all they put on there. It goes out to Capitol Records. The record goes out, and then the rumors come out. This was the Beatles' protests against the Vietnam War, or sometimes it was interpreted as a protest against how the North American market butchered the Beatles albums because they would kind of chop up the UK versions and make their own versions. There's a lot of history on that, and I don't want to go into that. But so they recalled all these records, and instead of, making all new covers, they slapped this cover on top. So if you have the Butcher album without ever a sleeve being, or ever a cover put over it, that's called first state. Second state is this. So the picture's down there, and you can tell that it is, but it hasn't been peeled. And then third state is this is peeled off to expose the Butcher cover. And unfortunately, some people have just ruined their records trying to peel that. I'm not going to try to peel this. I'm happy knowing it's there. And I kind of justify it this way. It was more expensive than I have ever paid for any record ever. Still a lot, nowhere near $1,000. But my thinking is I could have bought maybe 20 regularly priced records for the price I paid for this. I'm not going to buy records for a while. I have a lot here that I need to absorb and soak in anyway. I've been buying a bunch. I've got to stop buying the records for a while, so I feel like I've learned my lesson. But the other thing is, I'm always telling my daughter Luxie, I'm like, when I die, at least the Beatles section of my records are going to go to her. I don't think she'd be interested in anything else. But my thinking now is, this is how I justify things to myself. My thinking now is, she has something, that's worth something here. So she won't have to take it all down to Goodwill. She can at least have this and sell it in an emergency. But anyway, I was just so happy and excited to get that today. And I'd already ordered some records before I bought this, so I have a few more coming in, and my birthday's coming up soon, so I imagine a lot of people are going to be buying me records. Anyway, thanks for watching. I forgot to tell you. You thought you were out of here. Not only was the cover there in second state, but the vinyl itself is in fairly good condition. I told the guy I doubt I would ever play this record, but he said that he's played it several times and it plays really nicely. But the record itself is actually in pretty good condition, so that's an extra bonus. So I wanted to show you that. Some of my vinyl community friends don't feel like you're really doing a vinyl community video unless you actually show the record, the label, and all that stuff. So that's for you guys. Thanks for watching. I hope that you have a good day. I feel my luck is turning, and I think it all started with the Beer and Vinyl contest win. So thanks again, Alex from Beer and Vinyl, for getting me started on what I'm going to consider a winning streak. And I'll talk to everybody soon.